Morning, Jackie Broman here, popping in to say hi and to talk about some of the things that might be prolonging your dispute and how, some awareness of it may change your ability to be making decisions. So the most common disputes for women with families that we see through my firm is separations, will disputes, potentially housing disputes, and then otherwise it's things around consumer items. But it's certainly those ones where family's involved where there's a whole lot more emotion. And they are heart-wrenching for everyone and often leave families torn to pieces, which is also difficult to see. Whereas I know that some of these alternative dispute resolution processes can be emotionally tricky, but they can ultimately be fairly healing. So a family doesn't have to be torn to pieces. You can have some other form of relationship with the family members on the other side of the dispute rather than just completely hating and estranging from each other. Particularly if there's children involved, there has to be some kind of ongoing relationship, and it's a matter of how that is sort of structured. But in these emotional situations, they're often prolonged and a whole lot of stuff is dragged up over potentially 10, 20, 40 years. All the things are brought back up just really to hurt each other as much as possible. Sometimes some of it is relevant, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time the dispute is really about a pool of money that needs to be split up and how that's going to happen. Yes, sometimes there's children involved as well, and that's tricky as well, but a lot of the time I see parents really using the children while the property's not settled. Once the property's settled, quite often the ability to parent and work out the children's relationships afterwards comes a lot easier. So let's get the money out of the way first and the emotions. So the sort of things that might be fueling conflict is often fear and anger, to be quite honest. And it really does take some honesty then to look at your own emotions and go, okay, why am I potentially prolonging this? But also having a bit of an understanding of what emotions the other party is going through. Not that you necessarily have to care or fix anything for them. It's just that having a bit more of an understanding and potentially addressing some of the emotions directly might have them ease. And also having an understanding that having some external support from whoever's helping you with your dispute and your lawyer who aren't qualified to help you with your emotional needs can be helpful as well. So having a psychologist or a counsellor or some kind of coach on the side who can work through some of these emotions that might be stopping you from being able to make a rational decision that can end things quicker and cheaper. So if we dive in a little bit deeper to fear to start with, we get quite anxious about the unknown. And that is really also what Legally Wise Women is here to help with, to help with the fear of uncertainty that you have. So I can give you at least a little bit of understanding about what processes will be, what to expect when you engage with the legal industry, and those sorts of things. So if removing some of the uncertainty can help with the fear levels, but then you're also going to have fear around your uncertainty of your financial situation moving forward. You're potentially going to have fear of how it's going to work moving forward with the children. So again, if you can understand what you're fearful about, you can actually get some advice around those things as well. And so potentially seeing a financial planner. There's plenty of female financial planners around who help women going through separations. So just knowing what your options are and what situation you might come out with on the other side can be really calming to help remove some of the fear, so that you're not making decisions from a fearful place or refusing to make decisions because you're too afraid. The other primary emotion is anger, tied up with resentment, potentially hatred, and it's tricky because you're hurt and the other person might be hurt as well. And how to not let the desire to hurt the other person or to retaliate, hopefully that doesn't define your decision making. And again, by having support outside of your lawyer or your dispute resolution practitioner, so that you're not making decisions just to hurt someone else. Because if you're making decisions with that as your focus, even if it's subconsciously, you may not be making the best decisions for you. It also potentially prolongs the matter, whereas you could be getting on with your life, and it could cost you a lot less if you can resolve it quicker. So the other thing around anger is that it often makes us act in a way that we regret later. And if you really want to be integrous and stick to what is important to you, you can't let that be your primary driving decision-making place where you're making decisions from. So I think it's important to have a bit of an understanding about what is fueling your conflict. Potentially what is fueling the conflict for the other party as well. But as I said, it's not up to you to make them feel better, but it could be something that you could potentially, in a supported way, address directly. For example, if you go through a mediation, you could have the mediator ask questions directly about emotional states. And being honest with the mediator may help the other party be honest, and even they might be completely unaware. So the earlier you settle, the better, quite often. Alternative dispute processes can be really healing as well. Rather than bringing up all these hurts over years and years and years, which often happens in litigation, leave those behind you, turn and look forward. Have an early stage mediation. You can do those through a family dispute settlement centre. Interact Support is another one that I highly recommend. Or then there's private mediators as well, such as myself. We can take you through a private process, and we can do it all online as well, so you don't have to be in the same room as the other person. So if you have any questions about something you would like me to cover, by all means, direct message me or pop a comment or post in this group. I'll pop in most Mondays to give you a short snippet of legal information, and there's more support in the Mighty Networks group that I run at wise.legallywisewomen.com.au. There's hundreds of videos in there about different legal situations, but also a lot more support around how to find and hire the right lawyer, what to expect in the legal industry, and how to better negotiate for yourself. So that's all in there as well. I hope to see you around or hear from you. Otherwise, I'll be back next Monday. Catch you then. Have a great week.